What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? Can you guys hear me and see my screen? Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you guys had a good weekend. Hope you guys had a good holiday as well. What's up? What's up? Super excited for today. We're going to do kind of our little market scan, how to draw key levels. Do you guys have an echo? You guys should be good here. Let's see. Frames are good. Voice is good. Everything should be good. What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? Good morning. I'm so used to saying good morning. It's actually good afternoon. What's up, everyone? What's up, Trader, Cosmic Family? What's up, everyone? JR. What's up, Kanish, Wrong, Steven? A lot of people here today. It's good to see. Bib, Arnold, AS. What's up, Raphael? What's up, everyone? Family, Kid, Cosmic, Trader. What's up, everyone? Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'll wait a little bit more for a little bit more people to kind of trickle in here. Love the haircut, appreciate it. But yeah, at least for today, it's gonna be super chill. We're just gonna kind of do a really raw kind of way I draw my key levels. And of course, if you guys have any questions, you guys can always drop them in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them. But yeah, super chill kind of Q&A slash how I draw my key levels. I've never done this before. So let me know if you guys want to see more of these potentially in the future. But I know a lot of you guys always ask questions regarding right how I draw my key levels, what I look for coming to market open. In reality, I actually do it every single morning. So every single morning in my pre-market preps at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. For some of you that are new, I do it every single morning. So every single morning I come into the markets. I technically already have my levels pre-drawn since I already have it marked out the day before. So it makes it nice and easy and it makes the pre-market preps kind of smooth. But a lot of you guys always question, right, where I get my levels from, right, how I draw them. And we're just going to kind of make a video today. Am I recording this? Yeah. So at least today, this is going to be pre-recorded. I'll probably upload it on my second channel, so you guys can always have it. I also just made a brand new video today as well, where I kind of explain it briefly. It's more of in a video format. So that video that I posted today was kind of on the box strategy, which is very similar to what I do in the pre-market. I just box in my highs and lows. I actually have a lot of water here as well. So hopefully I'll probably be around maybe around an hour to an hour and a half potentially, but I have a bunch of water here. So hopefully it'll get me through all that. Okay. What's up, everyone? Good afternoon. Are you? Yes, I am. Hit the like. Yeah, before we get started, if you guys, of course, enjoy these, right? Make sure to drop a like. Let's see if we can get to like 200 likes potentially. Water, yes. Some of you guys are asking about the sale here as well. We do have a Black Friday sale going on. I posted it in the description and also I pinned it on the comments as well. So if you guys are interested, I'll kind of talk about it a little bit more later. But today will be the last day to join the accelerator. I'm sure most of you guys are already in the accelerator here, but we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later here in a second. Let's see. Yeah, you should have received some emails as well. Chart Fanatics. Yeah, Chart Fanatics. So the thing about the actual Chart Fanatics is that for some reason his episode, I think it should be back up, but I'm not sure if it should be posted. It should already be up. But I think that one with Riz is a really good one. I was actually there when he recorded that that was in New York. So that was a super good one. Okay, the one, yeah, I was taken down as well. I'm not sure. YouTube's a little bit more strict lately. Some videos, for some reason, they're getting taken down, even though we have disclaimers and everything else. But yeah, okay. Let's get on to kind of the first things first. So, how many guys, out of curiosity, join the pre-market preps every single morning? Let me see hands. If you guys join the pre-market preps, type one in the chat. If you don't join the pre-market preps, either don't type or type two in the chat. One, 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 one. I see a couple twos here, but majority of guys Yeah, almost every single one of you guys are from the pre-market preps, or at least majority of you guys, I assume. Um, what indicators? Mostly yes, yes, yes. 111. Okay, so some of you guys watch them, some of you guys don't. So, out of all the people that watch the pre-market preps, do you guys understand or have a general understanding of how I draw my key levels? Or are you guys completely lost coming into the day? Right? I'm very curious because a lot of the levels that I have drawn out, maybe if you've been watching the pre-market preps for a while, maybe you kind of understand, but some of you guys might be a little bit confused on some of the levels that I do have drawn out. Yes, yes, yes. Old highs, old lows, previous day highs, previous day lows, general idea, general understanding, but sometimes having a trouble pinpointing it, completely lost coming into the day, a little bit lost, makes sense, but exact wick to wick, sometimes confusing. Yes, 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 lost coming to the day, but I'm newer to trading, like watching 2 weeks in. Okay. So some of you guys, I assume that have been watching it the pre-market preps for a while now, have a general understanding of how I draw my key levels. Some of you guys, maybe if you're brand new, are a little bit confused, but that's okay. That's what we're gonna do today in this live session. We're gonna show you exactly how I draw my key levels and what I like to look for. Accurate, powerful levels. Yes, yes, yes. Missed numbers. Okay. Okay, so at least for today, I have a somewhat general idea of what I'm expecting. I don't really have any solid lessons planned. Today, I'm just gonna go into exactly how I draw my key levels. We're gonna delete all the levels. I'm gonna kind of draw my thesis coming to market open, and kind of the levels coming to this week. So you guys have plenty of examples to go over. So by the end of this, you guys should have at least a clear understanding of what to look for. Okay. So first things first, you guys should be able to see this on the right hand side. So what we have here is essentially a watch list. So this right here is what's called TradingView. So TradingView is the platform where we'll mark out our charts. Some people use TradingView. It's honestly probably one of the most beginner friendly platforms. Some of you guys use your own brokers like TOS. There's other brokers as well. But what we use personally is TradingView. And right here on the right-hand side, I'm just going to kind of quickly go over my watch list here. So what we have is some major features that we'll take an eye out, keep an eye out on every single morning, right? ES and Q. We have our major indices, which are right the SPY and QQQ. We have the IWM, which is a small cap ETF, SMH, which is the semiconductor ETF. So there's a bunch of different tickers that we'll primarily go over. But the main thing here is that we'll go over the SPY and Qs, ES and NQ, which are major indices. I'll show you guys how to draw key levels in a second, but then we also go over tech names as well, which is just right the Mag 7. We have Tesla, Google, Nvidia, AMD, Apple. So a bunch of these big companies will also go over in the pre-market. And then of course, we'll go on to some other names here as well, like Palantir, some high beta names, and some growth stocks as well that we'll take a look at every single day. So this is basically the watch list that we have coming into market open. So coming into, let's say, SPY, for example, let's delete all these levels that we have here and start from scratch. So as you can see right here, there's plenty of levels on the chart. You see like bearish candles, bullish candles, you see some gaps, you see some big bearish candles, right? Engulfing candles, you see some nice trends towards the upside, downside. Right here on the daily chart, it might be a little bit confusing when you first start because you see so many right candles on a chart, you see so many right different tickers, right? There's so many different time frames here as well. Right? It might be a little bit confusing when you first start trading, and that's okay. Because when you first start, there's a lot of things to kind of go over. And that's what I kind of want to break down today is how I personally essentially draw my key levels. But as a beginner trader, when you guys look at this chart, I'm sure most of you guys are a little bit more experienced. But if you look at this chart in itself, you might be a little bit confused, right? Do you kind of have that when you first start trading? At least for me, when I first came into the markets, when I saw the charts, I was a little bit confused because, right, you look at the SPY, you look at the Qs, you have so many different tickers here. You have like Tesla, Google. There's so many different tickers that we have. And when you first start, right, it can be a little bit challenging and confusing because you don't know what to look at, right? Can you guys kind of relate to that? Let me just grab a water here as well. Does your strategy work for Forex pairs like gold? Yeah, it'll work on all major indices, right? Stocks, indices. It'll work on any asset class. It might be a little bit different per asset class, but generally speaking, it's going to be all the same. I said I had a lot of water, by the way. We'll see how much water we have left by the end of at least an hour. But basically, yeah, you can see there's a lot of different candles on a chart, and you might be a little bit confused on what we should focus on. So, just in the most basic sense here, right? I'm going to kind of break it down into a very simplistic way where some of you guys can understand, right? We'll go over, as I mentioned, a lot of examples here in a second. So, really, coming into market open, as I mentioned, there's so many different candles higher, there's so many different candles lower, right? The chart may look a little bit confusing, but what we really want to focus on is one of the easiest strategies that like one of my mentors taught me when I first started trading was essentially just focusing in on the key levels. In this case, what we have here is a daily chart, right? So this is one full daily candle. And once we have this one full daily candle that's formed, all we're doing is really focusing on the key highs and lows of this daily candle, right? So we're essentially just boxing in our previous day lows, and we're also boxing in our previous day highs. Hopefully you guys are able to see this. Let me see. Yeah, you guys are able to see this. Previous day highs, and we also have our previous day lows. So once we have these levels or key areas marked out on a chart, some of you guys may also ask me here as well, what am I going to be marking out levels or am I going to be marking out areas? And that's a great question. In my personal opinion, I like drawing out areas in price. The reason being is because when we're talking about the break and retest in specific, it's an area of price. It's not an exact level. So when we're trading like these areas and price that I'm going to show you how we mark out in the pre-market every single day, just understand that there are going to be areas in price. I know some of you guys trade a strict level system where you only trade right the high of the wick or the body of the wick. And that's a very common question as well, is that are we going to be using the wick or are we going to be using the body? And the question that that was honestly a question that I always asked, and no one could give me a concrete answer when I first started trading because it was really just whatever worked. Like a lot of people, it would just have the wick marked out, and if there was multiple touches, they would say the wick. And then if there's multiple touches on the body, then they would just say it's the body. And I was always so confused because it's like, are we supposed to mark out the wick? Are we supposed to mark out the body? But then what I realized is that it's actually this full area in price, right? The full wick to the body is the area in price that it has to respect. It's also called, right, an order block. If we're bullish, right, down close candles, and then it's also the same thing to the downside. It has to respect the wick to the body. So I know you guys might be a little bit confused. Let me show you guys a bunch of examples here in a second. But this is kind of the general idea so far. Are you guys following along? Right? Type in the chat. Is this a little bit confusing for you guys? Or are you guys following along? following along. I see a couple no's, a little bit confusing, more clear. No problem. Okay, so most of you guys are following along. Some of you guys may be a little bit confused if you're a beginner trader, which is fine. Right, as I mentioned, we'll go from the very basics all the way to right how I draw my key levels. We'll go over plenty of examples here in a second. But this is essentially the gist of how I draw my key levels. And then after the fact, right, once we have those key levels essentially boxed in, which are just old highs and old lows, all we're looking for is the reaction around these key levels. So it's very similar to essentially basic support and resistance. So let's say price opens up and we have our previous day highs marked out here, and we have our previous day lows boxed in. All we're looking for is the reaction around these key levels. So if price opens up in the middle of the range, we're going to be looking for really the buyers to step in off your previous day lows, right? Same thing. If price, let's say, for example, pushes higher right off the bat, we're going to be looking for a potential kind of rejection off your previous day highs, right? So these are a few scenarios that we can be looking for. Of course, for us, we like looking for continuation above your old highs and old lows. So a lot of our trades will be looking for kind of the break, retest, continuation towards the upside, or really the break underneath your previous day lows. As I mentioned, I'm going to show you guys a lot of examples here in a second. But this is basically the gist of it, is all we're doing is marking out our key levels, and then we're going to be looking for the reaction around our key levels, right? It's very similar to, right, support and resistance, right? I can just have a key level marked out here and say, right, it's basically support and resistance in a way, where if price breaks above, we're looking for continuation higher. If price, let's say, came up and rejected the level, we'd be looking for continuation towards the downside. Very similar in the way kind of how the logic is played out. The way we mark our levels is what's key here and how we mark out our levels. But the basic logic in itself is, right, we mark out our key levels, we box in that previous day highs and lows, and then we're going to be looking for the reaction. Of course, there's a little bit more that goes into it based off of, right, the higher time frames. We can have more confluences, right, based off market sentiment, right, the way we take the levels, but the way we draw out the key levels is going to be all the same. And that's what we're going to go over. So does this make sense so far? Let me get a quick one in the chat if you guys understand that. Let's see. But you can also take many trades in between yesterday's range. Yeah, we'll also talk about those as well. That those can be used for that first candle rule, but we'll talk about that here in a second. One. Okay, awesome. Let's go on to the charts. So now we have this basics down. Let's go into the charts here. So first things first, as I mentioned, the key levels that we have are the previous day highs along with the previous day lows. If you're looking at this chart, you might be a little bit confused here, right? You can see we kind of have a decent amount of levels. Let me actually just go into the QQQ and remove all this as well. As I mentioned, we're going to delete all our levels, and we're going to mark out our levels from scratch. As you can see right here, we're currently on what's called the QQQ, which is the NASDAQ, right? It's basically the QQQ ETF. It's the stock version of the NQ, which is the futures. They both track the exact same thing, which is the NASDAQ. They're both exactly the same thing, but they're one's the futures. They're just different asset classes. So as you can see right here, we have a bunch of actually, right, candles, as I mentioned earlier, to the downside, to the upside, to the downside. You might be a little bit confused, right? Let's actually go back onto this example here, which was a couple weeks ago. When there's so much information, what do we primarily want to be focusing on? So let's actually start off the brand new week. So every single week, we're going to come into the markets marking out our key levels. So as you can see, this is Friday. This is Thursday of last week. And then coming into market open on Monday, this is a brand new week. So coming into tomorrow, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to do exactly what we're going to do today. But let's go on to, right, the 15-minute, or what I like to consider the 1 hour time frame. Where I like to draw these levels primarily is on the 15-minute and 1 hour time frame. Why is that the case? Right? The 15-minute and 1 hour time frame are my favorite time frames to draw at these key levels. Can anyone explain why? Specifically, if I'm going to be day trading, right? What I mean by day trading is I'm going to be trading on the 1 minute and 5 minute charts. If I'm trading on the 1 and 5 minute chart, why is my preferred time frame, right, the 15-minute and 1 hour as a higher time frame thesis instead of maybe the daily or weekly chart? Can anyone explain why? Confluences because quick exit and entries, recent trend, higher time frame thesis, not so far away. It pictures the overall trend in the markets, top-down analysis, higher view of the markets, daily charts too far away. Correct. So for example, right, the reason why we're going to primarily be marking out the 15-minute and 1 hour time frames is because if we're trading on the 1 and 5 minute, all we really need to do is look at the past 3 to 5 days. This is key here, right? If we're day traders specifically, 3 to 5 days, or what I consider last week's price action, is really all we need in order to understand, right? At least for day trades wise. It's going to be a lot different if we're trading, if we're swing trading, if we're long-term investing. If we're long-term investing, right, there would never be a need to be on the 1 and 5 minute chart. Because why would a single 1 minute candle matter if you're investing for years or you're holding a position for months on end, right, or even a few weeks? The 1 minute time frame is not going to do anything, right? So it's based off of, right, what time frames you're using. And if we're day tradings or we're specifically scalping, we're going to be on the lower time frames. And I'll show you why here. So let's say, for example, we're on the weekly chart on the QQQ and we're trying to trade on the 1 minute time frame. It's not that useful for me to be on the weekly time frame, right? I can clearly see that the market's bullish. But if I was to go from the weekly time frame, then I would have to go down to the daily. I have to go down into the 1 hour. I have to go down to the 15-minute, the 5 minute, and then go into the 1 minute. And by that time, I've already ran through about 7 different time frames, and I'm very confused on what to look for. So it's basically called time frame alignment. So what I always consider is wherever your entry is. So let's say your entry time frame. Let's actually do this. So entry. Let's say your entry time frame, for example, is on the 1 minute. Really, your narrative or your bias, I like to consider only 2 time frames away. So if we're entering on the 1 minute time frame, what is 2 time frames away? In my opinion, 2 time frames away is going to be the 15-minute time frame. So if we're entering on the 1 minute time frame, our narrative should be at least the 15-minute time frame, and that's exactly where we draw our key levels. You guys are typing in the chat as well. Exactly, the 15-minute. If our entry is on the 5 minute, then our narrative can be on, right, the 15-minute as well, or we can be looking at the hourly chart. Let's say, for example, we want to swing trade, right? When you're swing trading, really, are you entering on the 1 minute time frame? Potentially, but really a lot of your theses are going to be based off the daily chart. So you can really be on at least the 1 hour time frame. If you're swing trading, maybe you're have a higher time frame thesis, right? But we're day traders primarily, so we're going to be focusing on exactly this: 1 minute entry, 15-minute narrative; 5 minute entry, 1 hour narrative, right? This is, as I mentioned, for scalping slash day trading. Are you guys following along so far? At least for the time frames and why we choose the 15-minute and 1 hour specifically when drawing out these levels. Can we get a 1 in the chat or yes in the chat? Yes, yes, yes. 1, 1, 1. Good. Okay. Let's see. Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So with that being said, now right here, we're on the QQQ. So this was a couple weeks ago. So as you can see, this was a few weeks ago here, and the QQQ had a pretty big push towards the downside. How do I read the comments so fast? I just kind of skim through them. There's a lot sometimes where I'll just kind of choose, or I wouldn't say choose comments, but I just kind of, whatever I see, usually I just say. But as you can see right here, what we have here, we're on the 15-minute time frame on the QQQ. You can see we have a nice downtrend, and then we have a push lower. And then indeed this day, we actually have a pretty big gap up here in the markets. So if we're marking out key levels, how am I going to mark out those key levels that I talked about? So what I mentioned before is we're really boxing in our previous day kind of key levels, our previous day highs, along with our previous day lows. So these are going to be the key levels that we're going to have marked out. But coming into this day on Monday, we actually have a pretty big gap up here in the market. So on this day, we might be a little bit confused, but we can draw out some levels here on the Qs. So let's first mark out our previous day lows. Some people just might mark it out as a strict level. So a lot of people will just mark out this level, and this is considered your previous day lows. 599, let's just type it out. Previous day lows. This sorry, this is exactly your 598 or very close to it. Let's just say right here, 598.67. And if I was to mark out your previous day highs, it's going to be this right here, 609.94, previous day highs. So this is your previous day lows and your previous day highs. These levels by themselves are going to be key, right? Just your previous day highs and previous day lows. And I'll show you guys why I personally like drawing out areas in price instead of strict levels, and why you might want to draw out areas as well, just because those are going to be key. So this is your previous day highs and this is your previous day lows. Coming into Monday morning, really price is actually fairly far away from its previous day's highs and previous day's lows. So let's just kind of speed up the tape here, or we can maybe mark out other key levels, which are just going to be your Thursday's key levels, right? Thursday's highs and then Thursday's lows. So this is the level system, right? You can see huge gap up, right? Just mark out your old highs and old lows. Whenever we are very far away from our key levels, in this case, our previous day highs and previous day lows, then we can look left. Because let's say, for example, this is all the information we have, right? It's going to be a little bit harder to trade coming into this session if this is all the information we have. So this is if we just strictly look at its previous day's range. So a lot of people look at the charts and they'll just look at this. This is all the information they have coming to market open on a Monday. In my opinion, there's not enough information, because all I see here is a huge gap up in the markets. I need a little bit more context and a little bit more information for me to right look for a potential trading opportunity. So if I need more information, what am I going to do? I'm going to look left, right? And majority of the times you always look left, right? If you need more information, you look left because it gives you more context. If you already have the information, then you don't need to look left, right? Whatever is most recent is going to give you the most accurate levels, and it's going to give you the most precise levels as well. So in this case, if this is all the information we have, in my opinion, this is not enough to trade on a Monday. So what do I have to do? I'm going to have to look back at its previous day. And now this is going to give me more information, right? If I didn't have information on the previous day, and then you just keep doing that. You keep looking left until you have a little bit more information, and then you can just use the old levels. So in this case, you mark up previous day highs and the previous day lows. If I'm looking left, I'm looking at now Thursday's price action. So now I can look at, right, your Thursday's low, and I can also mark out your Thursday's highs. Other levels we can have marked out are pre-market levels here as well. I'll kind of talk about the pre-market levels. I personally don't like looking at pre-market levels as much unless there's a lot of volume and it's relevant, which means it's outside of its previous day's range. So with this being said, let's just kind of play out the tape here. I'll show you the two scenarios between drawing out levels versus drawing out areas. Let's just kind of play out the tape. And then coming into this day, let's just mark out other key levels here as well, which would just be your previous day lows and previous day highs once again. So now we have a little bit more information. Let's just say on this day right here, on Tuesday, I'm going to have marked out your previous day lows and your previous day highs. And let's just get rid of this. Previous day lows, previous day highs. And I'm going to mark out your previous day lows. So coming into this day right here, you can mark this out. Someone mentioned, can you mark it out on the daily time frame? Yes, you can, right? If you're just strictly marking out the level, it's very easy to mark up the previous day high and the previous day low. You can do this strictly based off the daily time frame. You can do this on the 1 hour. You can do this on the 15-minute. You can do this on any single time frame. That's why these previous day highs and lows are key areas in price. So coming into market open here, if I was strictly having a level system, similar thesis, I would just be looking for kind of the bounce off your previous day at lows, or maybe the rejection off your previous day highs as a scenario. If I'm looking for other possible long scenarios, break above your previous day highs. And then maybe if I'm looking for continuation, break below your previous day lows and a push lower. And you can see, really, we just ended up having what's called an inside bar day. So nothing really happened, just strictly basing off the level system here. And then the next day here as well, if I keep speeding up the tape, nothing really, right? Just basing off these previous day highs and low levels, right? They can be used. But let me show you at least what I personally like to do. Instead of drawing out these levels in price, I'm going to draw out the exact same thing, but I'm going to give it a little bit more room. So let's kind of go on to exactly how I personally draw my key areas in price and what I look for coming into market open. So as you can see here, I guess the tape is already played out, but these are the exact levels I already had previously. Let me see if I can show you. Let me actually just draw the key levels first. So coming into Monday morning, let me actually go back here. Where are the areas I'm going to draw it in price? So number one, you can see this is your Thursday's high. What I'm going to draw here, I'm on the 15-minute time frame. I can draw the wick to the body. It's nice and easy, right? It's a pretty small zone, but if I zoom out just a little bit, you can see how well kind of price respects this level, in my opinion, right? This 622. If I just draw it a strict level, right, and kind of drag it over, you also have multiple touches here as well. You kind of have a touch here, kind of broke above on Wednesday, On Thursday, this ended up being your previous day highs, rejection right off the bat, and continuation lower. This level serves a fairly similar purpose. If I draw out an area, exact same thing, right? Levels, areas, fairly similar. One, you're just giving it a little bit more room, but you can see if I just draw it strictly just this from this wick to the body, now it gives you a little bit more kind of, I wouldn't say a little bit, it just gives you a little bit more wiggle room. And now you can see, in my opinion, this is a lot better because price touches here. You kind of have the body respecting here now. In the pre-market, another touch here. And if you really want to extend the level even a little bit more, in my opinion, you can extend it down and towards this low, where now you have even more touches. And it's a very small zone here. So you can see perfect touch here in the pre-market, another touch here, comes up, uses that as resistance, turns into support, comes back down, uses that support here, comes over here, resistance, breaks underneath it, and then uses it as resistance lower. Does this make sense here on kind of the logic and thesis on how I draw my key levels, right? I just drew it where there's multiple touches and it kind of lined up perfectly. Does this make sense, right? When drawing out the levels here where you have multiple touches? When is a zone too big to draw? I'll show you guys here in a second. But this is kind of just zone refinement. So I started off with this zone right here, which was very small. And I kind of refined it just because I liked it a little bit better down in towards this key low where there was a little bit more touches. It's basically the exact same thing, maybe a point or half a point a little bit more. So this is my number one key level based off of this Thursday's price action. Now let's kind of go draw out some other levels here as well, right? This was the Thursday's high. Now let's draw your Thursday's low. So in this case, right, what we have here is your previous day's low. In this case, it probably doesn't make too much sense because price already had a pretty big gap up, but we're just going to mark these levels in case. So coming into this day here, what other levels can we have marked out? Right, this is kind of your previous day highs here on Friday. And then we also have your, right, Thursday's low. What we can do here is mark out this general area. So we can mark out your Thursday's low and just drag it up into your, this is your Friday's highs, and we can drag it up into your Thursday's lows. So now we're basically connecting it together because this is a key level, right? It's basically support that turned into resistance. And you can see price came back up and another touch off this general area. So I'm just going to mark out this general area in price, which is your 610. Some other key levels, right? You can, if you want, you can extend it to this body if you want to make it a little bit bigger. You can extend this one to this body. It's just going to be a little bit of a bigger zone, but this general area is what matters, which in this case is your 610. I'm personally just going to extend it to the body because I like this a little bit better. It's about 1 point zone and it gives me a little bit more breathing room. So as you can see here, nice touch once again, break, retest, and you can see price came back up. So does this at least previous day high make sense where I kind of just extended it up into your Thursday's low here? Do these two zones make sense right here? Type yes in the chat. If it doesn't make sense, type no. Why don't you use the daily chart? Because if I use the daily chart, then the zones are going to be a little bit too big. So I want to refine it. So I'm just going to go onto the lower time frames. I kind of explained it earlier, which is I'm really only want to be 2 time frames away. Yes. Our main problem is that after marking your previous day highs and previous day lows pivot point, when the market causes to break out, and how do we focus on marking the high and low? Sorry, I kind of just blanked out. But yes, for that one, how do we focus on market the high and low? So I'll show you guys. So these are all just key levels. We'll go on to plenty of more examples here in a second. Would you draw your Wednesday's lows for Monday? Yeah, so we'll talk about this. The Wednesday's low right here, since these zones are fairly big. So coming into Monday morning, these zones that we have, 622 and our 610, these are our main zones here. And we're kind of opening up in the middle of these zones. So there's not really too many trading opportunities in my opinion if we're just going to kind of mark out this 610 and this 622. So what are other levels we can have marked out? I actually really like this level here, which is from Wednesday, November the 25th. So as you can see here, we're all just marking out old highs and old lows. So this ended up being your low that we created here from Wednesday. So we mark out this level, drag it over, and you can see price end up using this as support, came back down, end up using the 622 as resistance, broke underneath here on Thursday, end up using this as a nice retest on the 15-minute time frame. So this zone can be used as well coming into Monday morning. So these are the levels that we have marked out specifically for Monday. Let me see if I can go and scroll back up. This was Monday, November the 10th. But at least does that third zone make sense? I know the first two probably make most sense, right? This 610 along with this 622. But then this third zone, you guys might be a little bit confused on because it's not, I guess it's not as clear. But this is the similar thing, right? It's just an old low that you can see multiple touches. And then you can see it's also happening to be your pre-market low here as well. So does this make sense right here? Why not the pivot level on Thursday? It is the pivot level. So as you can see, pivot high on Thursday, which also coincides with that Wednesday's low. Does this third zone make sense? I see some of you guys saying it kind of makes sense, kind of doesn't. But this third zone here is just an old low, right? Kind of your low that we created here on Tuesday, where we just have multiple touches, right? Touch here, touch here, touch here. And then this is going to be a key level coming into Monday. This is a little bit more of a trickier zone, as I mentioned, but we're going to mark out this zone as well, just because we want a little bit more of information, right? Because if we were strictly just having our 622 and 610, we probably wouldn't be looking for any trading opportunities on this day, just because we're kind of opening up after this pretty big gap up. Let me see if I can scroll back here as well. Why is marking out? Yeah, does that make sense so far? At least for that third zone. Why does the date say 10/11? It's just because I went on to, I have the replay function. And as you can see here, let me see if I can scroll back. So this was coming into, this was on a Monday. So yeah, these were the levels I have marked out. As you can see here, let me pull up the Discord. So these were the key levels coming into market open on, this was November the 11th. So you can see here for the QQQ, we actually had, what levels did we have marked out on this? November the 11th. Let's see what day. Or sorry, it was the 10th. I had it marked out on the QQQ. Let's see the SPY. So yeah, the key levels I had marked out was this 622. I guess during this day, I think I marked it out later into the session, but this level right here was that 618. But let's keep playing out the tape. Okay, so now we're on day number 1. We just played out Monday's price action. I don't think I remember taking a trade on this day, but right here, you can see price, nice push higher, potential kind of rejection off this 622. Which ended up being a key level that we had marked out, and push towards the downside. It pushed towards the downside, you can see, end up holding this level fairly nicely, which ended up being that 618. So you can see there's a couple different potential kind of trading opportunities coming into market open based off these levels, right? Maybe you could have taken a long position up and towards your 622. You can see it kind of faded off your 622 for a push towards the downside. And then you can see some buyers kind of stepping in for a push all the way back up in towards right 622 once again. Let's just keep playing out the tape. Coming into the next day, what we can have marked out here now is right the previous day highs. So now we can add a little bit more information here now. So as for your previous day lows, or at least these are the levels we had marked out already coming into the week. Now coming into Tuesday, what are some other levels we can have marked out? In my opinion, we can mark out this level right here, which is just going to be from your wick high, your previous day highs, and we can drag it down to the body. So now we have a couple more levels coming into right Tuesday. You have that previous day highs, you have that previous day lows, and then we also have the middle, which is now at 622. Does this level right here make sense here on the Qs? At least this previous day highs. Damn, I didn't realize it was already 50 minutes. Let's see. Are you going to upload the YouTube after ending the live? It should be up for a little bit. As I mentioned, it'll probably get lost since I do a lot of pre-market prep. So I'll probably end up uploading it on the second channel. Do you still have water? Yeah, I still have some water. Let's see. US opening, yes, as well. Remember trade. Okay, good. Now coming into Tuesday, now we'll just kind of play out the tape a little bit more, right? We'll keep marking out the tape. Price came all the way back down, right? Buyers somewhat stepped in. You can just keep playing it out. And you can see how well these essentially levels are respecting, right? Price on Wednesday, bounce once again, and this day here. So I really didn't draw out any more new levels just because, right, these levels sufficed and we had a nice price action around these key levels. You can see Monday came up, Tuesday, nice bounce, right? Wednesday, this is Wednesday, drop, end up using an immediate retest off 622, bounce off 618, came back up, and another rejection. So as you can see here, I didn't draw any brand new levels for either Tuesday or Wednesday. So what happens coming into right Thursday? So as you can see right here, right, as I mentioned, I didn't draw out any new levels. Right now, we're just stuck inside of a range. And there's plenty of different opportunities inside of a range here. You can play the rejection. You can play the bounce. You can play the rejection, the bounce. So there's so many different trading opportunities within a range. Me personally, I don't like trading inside of ranges. I like trading what's called continuation. So coming into this day here specifically for the QQQ, what are some continuation setups on the Qs, right? Can anyone tell me what will happen if we break underneath, let's say the 618? I guess I already have it drawn out. But if we break underneath the 618, you can see touch here, touch here, touch here. Very key level of support. If we break underneath, hold underneath, we can see some continuation lower towards the downside, down really all the way down and towards our next key level, which is that 611, right? Which is also the gap that we created over the weekend, right? This is called the gap. Gaps like to be filled, imbalances in the markets. There's potential that we can see a push lower if we break underneath the 618. And this is basically the same game plan that we had coming into, what day is this? November the 13th. Let me actually just show you guys what we're looking for essentially on this day. Let me pull up the Discord here. So as you can see here, I'm not even sure if you guys could hear this. Let me see if I can turn this on. All right, what's up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well. Today is November the 13th. So Thursday today, overall markets opening up fairly neutral. Previous day lows, previous day highs. Really today, there's a potential that we can see some more downside here. If we break underneath their previous day lows, hold underneath, you can see this potential gap fill lower on the overall market. So let's keep an eye on this. Obviously, if we do bounce, I'm not that interested in this bounce here for the key. But hopefully you guys heard that. That was my pre-market game plan on November the 13th. Right here, coming into market open, QQQ right at a key level of support being your previous day lows. I'm not even sure if you guys can see this. Let me kind of zoom it in here. What I would like to see coming into today is a reaction that we have off that level. Right now we're in a range. If we can break outside the range, we have some more room down towards the full gap fill. If we bounce, we will head right back inside the middle of the range. So the game plan coming into market open was if we can break outside the range, we have room down in towards the gap fill. This was the number one scenario. Potentially if we bounce, right, we're just going to move back inside the range. But that was the game plan coming into, right, Thursday. And you can see price broke underneath. Let's kind of speed up the tape. Broke underneath, retested nicely, and straight down in towards your 610. And you can see how well these levels were respected, right? If you go into the lower time frames, if you go into the 1 minute time frame, right? Look at all of the different type of opportunities here as well. Potential immediate retest right off the bat if you're really aggressive. It actually also came back once again, 618 retest off the higher time frames, and another rejection right off this level towards the downside. So as you can see here, just these levels that I had marked out really coming into market open played out very, very nicely. And let's see where, if I took any trades this day. If I remember, I think I took NVIDIA towards the downside. Let's see. This was on the 13th. This day, oh, it was a Tesla. I ended up taking Tesla towards the downside. But this day right here on the Qs, overall thesis, right, rejection off of our 618 for a continuation lower. And the rest of the week, I can't remember exactly what happened, but you can see how well just strictly those levels were respected on this day right here. As for trading opportunities, we'll kind of talk about this a little bit more in a second, but at least for the QQQ, for this week specifically, do you guys understand, at least just from drawing out those key levels that I had marked out the previous day, how well price is respected, right? You can see touch here, right? Maybe you're trading a couple bounces for a push higher, reversal trades, maybe you're trading continuations, right? There's plenty of different opportunities here. But can you guys at least see how I draw these key levels, at least coming into market open, and the way price, what I want to show you guys is the way price respects these levels, right? Some people, if you just strictly had, let's say, for example, a level drawn out. If you had a level drawn out here, some people might be a little bit confused. This is, right, what I always was confused at when I first started trading. If I was drawing out a level, am I going to draw it at this wick? Or am I going to adjust it to this body? Because now this body one looks a lot better. But then there's also your Tuesday's price action, right? Am I going to draw it from this wick or this body? Because this respects it very nicely. Or maybe I'm going to draw it on your previous day's price action and draw it up to this body, right? What am I going to do here? Since the levels are fairly close. You have Monday, you have your Tuesday's lows, you have your Wednesday's lows. Some people will tell you, right, draw at the body. Then some people will tell you draw at the wick. And then it does whatever it fits, right? When I first started, I was very confused because some people would just draw at this level. And now in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense. Look how well it respects it perfectly. But then they might have had drawn this level earlier into the week, and then it kind of fakes you out just a little bit, right? So some people would just tell you body or the wick. But what I understood was that what matters here is essentially the wick to the body, right? Or the level that has multiple touches, right? When we're talking about order blocks, what matters here is the wick to the body, right? That is the level that has to be respected for an order block to be valid, right? An order block is a little bit, we talked about it plenty of times on this channel, but an order block's a little bit different, specifically for trends. But in this case, what matters is the wick to the body, right? And if you were to draw this area in price, look at how more clear it looks. Touch here, right? More touches. This, for me, in my opinion, is a lot more clear than just drawing a strict level and price. And then you have to keep changing it because now it's like, oh, is it going to respect it perfectly? As I mentioned, that's why I'm just going to just draw out this area to make it nice and easy and where we're going to have multiple touches. And you can see how well it respects it, right? Right, we're just going to give it a little bit more breathing room because that's going to be key, right? More breathing room gives us, right, a little bit more leeway so we don't have to be perfectly precise. A lot of times when you first start trading, you're going to try and be so precise. You go on down onto the 1 minute, you want like precise 1 minute entries, right? No drawdown whatsoever, right? You're really not going to get that type of precision if you trade the tech names, right? If you trade tech names, anything, if you want precision, you're most likely going to have to trade the features themselves. But if you trade the major indices or you trade the tech stocks, then drawing out areas is your best way to go. But does that at least make sense for drawing out the wicks to the body? And you guys have a little bit of a better understanding of what to look for? Can you show the drawing tool? The drawing tool is right here. Makes sense. After you draw the rectangle, it opens settings. Yeah, if you want to extend the box, you just go into the settings and you can do that right here. Settings, extend left, extend right, and you can have those levels marked out. Yes, yes, yes. Awesome. Okay. So now with this being said, let's go on to some examples that we took in real time. Let me pull up my TradeZilla here, stats for last month, and we'll go over some examples. Okay, let me grab some water here as well, and then we'll go over some examples. It's about an hour, so we'll probably do it for another, we'll see, another 30 minutes to an hour. That'll probably be good. I see some people who's still here. Can we get like, it's been an hour. I see some people leaving. Some people are still here. What's up? What's up? Let's get a chat check here. You guys still here? You guys are enjoying this so far? You guys finding some value? I see someone completely spamming the chat about some IBKR thing. Let me actually read that here. Yes, yes, yes. Still here. Awesome. Checking in. Good, good, good. Let me just grab a little bit more water here and we'll get on to the next one. Someone really wants me, what is that? Are you going to make a video on IBKR? Yeah, I'll have a video on IBKR and the brokers potentially. That's going to come out probably on a course that I'll end up making as well. But okay, let's go on to some examples that we took before then. Just kind of go over some TradeZilla stats for last month here. So it actually ended up being my biggest month of the year. Super solid statistics, around 56% win rate. So anywhere between, right, on my average, 40 to 60%, depending on the overall month. Profit factor, right, 3.16. Daily win percentage, 81%. Average win to loss ratio, about 2.48. So I ended up making around $11,000 for my winners. Losers were a little bit bigger just because I was sized up. Around 4.4 for my average loser. So this was my TradeZilla stats for the month of November. First 2 weeks was super solid. The last 2 weeks, not so much, just because overall market, right, less volatility in the markets, right? VIX started dropping, got underneath 20. And really the last week, I gave back a decent amount of profits just because there's really no volatility whatsoever. And I would say I wouldn't say I was forcing trades, but I was really taking setups that weren't the ideal conditions that we had in the markets. So let's go over some trades that we have. I think I have some trades that I went over. Let me pull up a couple of these ones. First trade, let's go over this NVIDIA trade. So this is an NVIDIA trade that we took. This was on November the 7th. This was a previous day low, textbook break and retest towards the downside. So this one, adjusted cost around $19,000, 120 contracts. My trade risk was about 2.7, and this was a textbook previous day low retest. So let me show you, I'll show you guys the kind of executions here in a second as well. But let's go over what the thesis was coming into this day here. This was on NVIDIA towards the downside here this was Thursday the 6th. Let me actually get rid of all these levels here as well. I'll have to draw brand new levels regardless, but this is what we can have. So coming into this day here on NVIDIA, let's just quickly kind of glance at the 1 hour time frame, right? Just a quick glance within the first, 15 seconds. What do you guys see here? Within the first 15 seconds, right? Don't overcomplicate it. I guess you guys already know what happened, but within the first 15 or 5 seconds, what do you guys see here? Do you guys think it's bullish? Do you guys think it's bearish? Or do you guys think it's neutral? Right? Just quick glance at the NVIDIA chart. What do you guys see here? From your experience, how volatile normally is December? We'll get that Christmas rally back towards the upside. So less volatility, but we'll have a clear direction, and the markets are going to start rallying to end off the year. Potential bearish, breaking swing lows, neutral, bearish. Okay, that's good. So basically what we see here is, I guess you guys already know what happens, but I'm leaning a little bit more bearish. Actually, the chart's fairly neutral here, but the reason why I was more bearish is because of the relative weakness. We also had this time Palantir earnings. So that's just something you're going to gain with more experience, is understanding the overall context. But relative weakness compared to the SPY and Qs, Palantir had earnings before on Monday, indicating that there's going to be more weakness specifically on anything with AI, there's going to be a major pullback. So that's why we're leaning more bearish coming into this day specifically for NVIDIA. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick as well. This was on the 6th. Let me show you guys my pre-market game plan coming into this day. Let me kind of just scroll up. So as you can see here, coming into market open, main watches, let's see, this was the 6th, if I'm not mistaken. This was Thursday, November the 6th. What is up, everyone? Hope you guys are doing well today. Let's see if I talk about NVIDIA here at all. Let's see. Today, keep an eye out on key level. It's for my major key watches today. Keep an eye out on Tesla. This one has a little bit of divergence, so we'll see what happens. Okay, to market I guess open, I didn't really talk about NVIDIA in the pre-market game plan as much. I think I talked about it in the pre-market prep. But basically what we're looking for here was, you can see there's a little bit of relative weakness compared to the Qs, right? If we pull up the QQQ, you can see, at least if we have market open, let me go here. You can see coming into market open, NVIDIA is a lot more bearish. The reason being is because if you look at the Qs, 50% retracement on the day previous. And if we look at this day here, this one ended up having a pretty big sell-off coming into the day previous. So NVIDIA was bearish. And the key levels we're going to have marked out coming into this day specifically. What are the key levels? Now we can mark out the key levels together. Let's go on to the 15-minute time frame. Based off of what we taught, do I do pre-market prep daily? Yes, on YouTube, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. What we're going to do here is draw previous day low from the wick to the body. So this is your 195. You can see here, wick to the body, mark this out. Previous day high. Let's do this one here as well. From the wick to the body, bam, 203. So these are major levels coming to market open. Other levels we can have marked out as well. Let's say we have your previous day highs and your previous day low area. Now let's go on to the middle, right? Let's mark out this level right here, just because this is not, this is a key level and we don't have to trade off this, but we can mark out this level just because, right? There's a touch here. This also end up being your Tuesday's lows. So we can just have this general area marked out. 198. So what is our game plan coming into NVIDIA on specifically this day right here, which is a Thursday? So already, right, we're leaning a little bit more towards the downside, just based off the things I laid out earlier. What I like to see is either the pop and fade off 198 or now previous day low retest for continuation lower, right? Two scenarios for the downside here on NVIDIA. Now let's go on to the lower time frames. Exactly, break below. There's also the reclaim, of course, right? Reclaim back above your 198 if we wanted to flip back bullish. But let's play out the tape here. Let's keep playing it out. And price breaks finally below. So you can see here, coming into Thursday morning, consolidation. We can also mark out these areas, so it makes it nice and easy. What I like to do is mark out these as labels, so I understand what level they're at, right? You can do this when you're starting out, just to make it a little bit more easier, right? Previous day lows, 195. So as you can see here, price is consolidating above your previous day lows. If we want to see continuation lower, as I mentioned, we need to see a break, retest, continuation. So now we're just waiting. We're waiting. Price breaks below. Now this is when we're interested. So as you can see here, we're now starting to break below QQQ. We're actually breaking below our key level, which was our 622 on this day here as well. And now we have room back down in towards its previous day lows, 617. So now with this being said, this one has what's called relative weakness, right? So now as it comes back for the retest, we're waiting, right? Price taps in towards our retest level right here, which is in this case, you can see your previous day low level perfectly, which is your 194.66. Let's go back here, right? You can see taps into it. Nice weak reaction. This is where we go in short, stop just to break above. And now we're looking for continuation really all the way back towards the downside. So key levels we have marked out here. Number one, 191.96. Old target side we can mark out really kind of all the way back towards the downside. So for NVIDIA, we're now just looking for this. The thesis is, right, consolidation, right, showing relative weakness. We have our previous day lows. We're looking for the break, retest, continuation towards the downside. Where do I have my stop and entry? Entry, stop above your previous day highs. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for continuation lower. So I'm looking for a move all the way towards the downside. And then as you can see, these are my executions. Let me go back on it just so you guys can see right here. So you know that I took it in real time. But as you can see right here, 192.50 puts. No engulfing candle needed. It was just because higher time frame bearish, right? When you're trading the downside, you can wait for the confirmation candle as well if you'd like to. You don't have to. But NVIDIA, you can see 120 contracts right at that 954 candle, average about 160-ish. And then I scaled onto that first initial push towards the downside. And then you can see consolidation, a little bit of a pullback, and then we end up having that nice push lower. So these are exactly how I scaled. If you want to take a screenshot or you can rewatch it later. But basically, right, let me pull this back up. Right, 954 candle here, stop a break above, and then scaling down on that first push. You can see nice touch here off that 190, 160. And then eventually it consolidated and continued much later down in towards the downside. And eventually headed lower. But this was the trade right here. And it was all based off of that previous day lows that we talked about, which end up having a solid rejection, nice continuation lower. Let me see if I can pull up the live session here as well. When was this? November the 6th. Let me
Break
see if I can
underneath.
speed up the
Potentially, you
tape.
can be using this level now as a be the reclaim back above. Underneath, potentially, you can be using this.
I was kind of talking about framing this trade earlier here as well. So NVIDIA, right, kind of we have your previous day lows marked out, also your previous all-time highs. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
Potentially retest underneath your previous day lows here.
As we speed up
Key
the tape,
levels,
so this is the live session. Kind of keep playing it out. Okay, this is where we have
So this is the
NVIDIA.
level you'd like to see Palantir hold, and then NVIDIA a little bit weaker, of course, right? NVIDIA overall weaker.
Puts 194 retest.
Just keep
I'll
playing.
be looking at the
tape.
192.50s here on NVIDIA, the 192.50 puts.
Let's play out the tape, blah, blah, blah. But I mentioned I'm looking at the 192.50 puts, exactly what I kind of mentioned earlier, right? Break underneath that previous day lows. Now all we're doing is looking for that retest for that, right, continuation towards the downside. So I mentioned I was looking at the 192.50 puts here. They're always going to be weekly contracts. We trade weekly contracts.
Google right at that 5.5 plus 1 candle rule. This is where if you are looking to go long on that name, this is where you would, but you need to see buyers stepping up.
Let's mark out the level. Yeah, take weekly contracts.
Apple, this one looking to reclaim, a little bit more choppy on Apple, but it is looking to reclaim back above the 5-minute high.
All right, I'm looking for some sellers to step in here on NVIDIA.
The NVIDIA previous day low is 194.80s. You'd like to retest on 194.80, this previous day low.
Yeah, NVIDIA. I'm gonna try some NVIDIAs here. The 192.50 puts. My risk basically a break above your previous day highs, right? With the keys rejecting here as well, like this one for potential push towards the downside.
Previous day lows.
Yeah, sorry, previous day lows.
So as you can see right here, I enter in the 192.50 puts off your previous day lows with a stop. It's going to be a break above your previous day lows 195 here. And I'm looking for really now just continuation towards the downside. As I mentioned, there's not too much context here just based off this screen, but I laid out the context earlier, which was based off of, right, that higher time frame. It's very hard, but I was just kind of showing you the executions and thought process, at least in real time. But basically, this was all laid out here on the higher time frames, right? Done through the pre-market, right? And then actually looking at the real time, right? Sorry, done through the pre-market, and then right in through the real-time analysis, right? Look at the SPY and Qs. So there's a little bit more that kind of goes into it, but the general gist, as I mentioned, is understanding these key levels, which is your previous day highs and lows, and right using those levels and watching the reaction off those levels. So that's basically right what we do every single day, right? As I mentioned, we always have those pre-market preps at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have those live sessions as well. So some of you guys were asking about the live session. So every single day, we will have live sessions in the morning, right after the pre-market preps. We'll actually start them out around like 9:25, and then we'll basically live trade and show you the thought process in real time and what to look for. So I think that's important, right? The pre-market prep, which is what I do, and then actually going out and executing these trades, because that's what's key, right? Following your plan. So whenever you have a plan, coming into market open, right? And then following that plan is going to be key and essentially executing it in actually real time. So you can see I have some live sessions for you guys. I'm sure if you guys want those live sessions, most of you guys are probably in the Discord, but if you got some of you guys aren't, we record all those live sessions and I always post them on my second channel on an unlisted link. But maybe I can share with you guys some live sessions so you can kind of see the thought process, or maybe I might start posting them a little bit more moving forward on my second channel, so you guys can kind of see the overall kind of thought process and what we look for. But that's basically the game plan there on NVIDIA. That was a super nice trade towards the downside. Let me see. Do you guys have any questions? I saw some of you guys asking some questions as well in the chat. Can I join the community? Yeah, if you guys want to join, I can probably send out the link. We also have the link in the description as well. So if you do want to join, this is technically the last day for at least our Black Friday sale for lifetime and annual. So that one's in the description. It's also pinned in the chat as well. I'll probably go over some more examples here in a second. Let's see. How do you get the color background on TradingView? So the color background is you just go into the settings and then you can change the color as well if you'd like. What is your second channel? Yeah, let me try and pull that up here as well. So I'll send in the link and then also send in the second channel as well. So you guys can, that's where I always post my pre-market outlooks and those pre-market recaps as well. Let me go on to this. So someone was asking about the link. So let me send that in here as well. Yeah, I sent the links in the chat. If you guys are interested, I just sent out the link for you guys to join the lifetime and annual. You and Tony live trade every day on Discord. We trade live every single day. So Tony will be on text. He'll be live about 3 times a week. I'll be live every single day. And we also have text as well. Okay, let me go on some more examples here in a second. I'll go over one more examples. I'll actually go over a couple more examples and then I'll answer some questions. And then we'll call it a day here. Let me go on to some other examples. Let's see if I can find a good example that we took. Let's see here. Potential EMD retest. Let's see. Let's see if I can find a nice previous day high retest. Oh, this was an Apple trade that we took recently. So this was actually an Apple trade that we took not too long ago. This one was towards the upside. Can you go over the black sale cover? Yeah, so the black sale is just for the accelerator. So it's for the live trading. Let me actually give you a quick kind of rundown of what the Discord is. So some of you guys might never seen this, but basically once you enter in the Discord, we actually have quite a bit here. So as you can see in our Discord, we have the alert section. We also have our live trading as well. So this is where essentially everything is hosted, right? What we have here is the alert section. We have our admin trading floor. So once you join into the Discord, this is what you'll receive essentially. So we have these Scarface alerts, which as you can see here, this is where Tony will post all his alerts. You can see this is his P&L for the last month. He posted all his statistics here so you guys can see. We also have other things as well. We have some profits and loss. These were some testimonials of other people's months as well. So you can see right here, a lot of our members in the community had pretty solid month in the Discord, right? November was a fantastic month. It was actually my personal best month of the year. Someone made 6,517 days. Someone else, 250% gain in 1 month, right? This is an outlier month. Don't expect to join the Discord and make 250% in a month, right? That's not realistic. But as you can see here, someone had their best trading week, Ray, which was solid. Someone else may end up making $20,000 this month as well, Z6. Another great month in the Discord. So this is our Scarface alerts. We also have my alerts here as well, which I'll post kind of my pre-market game plan. I'll post what I'm looking for coming to market open. right? We have our admin trading floor, which we'll post here as well. And then we have our trading floor itself, questions, right? Trade feedback. So any questions you guys may have, we'll answer them. The trade floor is where, right? It's pretty self-explanatory, where you guys will have kind of just the trades themselves. Trade feedbacks, we have kind of your post your gain section, which anyone will go down and kind of post their profits and losses for the month. So you can see kind of profits and losses here. Vernon, solid month. So a lot of people just kind of post their profits and losses for the month itself. You have other sections as well, right? Like testimonials, swing ideas, back testing, right? Super solid channels that we have here that you can see. Some other things as well, right? The trading chat. We'll also have our trade review. So this is where Tony will post his trade reviews, as you can see here. And then I'll post my kind of weekly recaps that I do on a weekly basis. Other things, right? We'll have a weekly live coaching, which Hayden will do for implementation. We have other things here as well, right? Pre-market lives, I'll post this, right? Live sessions, which is key. So you guys, right, you have all the live sessions that we have every single day. I'll post them here so you guys can review it. We have our Zoom links, which you guys can post as well. And then for all the other sections, it's pretty self-explanatory once you get into the Discord, but we have a bunch of videos where you guys can check this or how to actually navigate the Discord itself. And then, right, we have our live trading, which we'll host every single day. So you can see on the event section at the top, what we'll have here is, right, the live trading, the coaching calls, and we have some implementation as well. And then we'll have the weekly recap. So as you can see, every single day here, we have live trading. I guess the time hasn't changed, but it's at 9:25 a.m. And then we'll run our live sessions for about an hour and a half. So that's what we have for the Discord kind of run through as well. So that's our Discord in itself. I see some of you guys asking some questions about the link. So yeah, I'll send out the link one more time. But if you guys are interested, as I mentioned, this is our last kind of sale we've actually only done 2 public sales, our anniversary sale and this one here as well. So if you guys are interested, this is going to be our last sale for the year for sure. And then probably our last sale until at least, right, probably April of next year, which is going to be our anniversary sale. So if you guys are interested, you guys can, I typed in the link in the chat. It's also in the description as well. Okay, with that being said, let me answer some questions here. Let me grab some water. We'll go over a couple more examples and then we will probably call it a day here. Let's see. How do I get into the accelerator? I joined Friday. So you're already in the accelerator. So if you join the accelerator, then you already are in the accelerator. You just have to reclaim permissions and make sure you book your implementation call and watch the video. Let's see. Definitely worth the investment. Appreciate that, Ken. Are you trading on IBKR, TWS? Yes. Where's Tony trading? The same thing. So it's the same server, and then we'll have so it's the same server, and then basically the same server where we'll trade together, and then he'll also be on text as well. Can I join your community if you trade Forex? Yeah, so you can join the community. Primarily, we trade futures and options, so that's what we will focus on. But you can also trade, right, Forex. There's a lot of people that trade Forex, right, other asset classes as well. But primarily, we trade options and futures. But as I mentioned, all the levels respect the same way. The thought process and everything as well is, right, fairly similar. You like the haircut? Appreciate it. 5-minute break and retest presents itself. How much is the year? The yearly right now is $500 off. So the yearly is $997, and then the lifetime is $1997. Okay, let's see. I see a few other questions here as well. Do you have an affiliate program? Yeah, if you go into WAP and click on the affiliates, you will be able to have, I'm pretty sure you have an option where you can become an affiliate as well. Do the copy trades, not just size. So another thing as well, if you come into the Discord looking to copy trade, that's not the main purpose. So the main purpose is to right? Teach you guys what we're looking for in the thought process, right? Do we share our trade ideas in real time and what we look for? Yes. But if your sole purpose is coming into the Discord to strictly copy trade, the thing that we always mention is that copy trading is not a long-term solution, right? You can make money copy trading, but ultimately what you're doing is relying on someone else, right? Because you're not managing your positions, right? Managing risk properly. You're not really forming your own thesis. What you're essentially doing is just, right, relying on someone else. And as I mentioned, that is not a long-term solution. Can you make money copy trading? Yes, but is that something you want to do and that's something sustainable long term? No, it's not. So if you come into the room, just understand it's education focused and we're looking to teach you guys, right, how to fish instead of, right, just handing out alerts and handing out signals. If you want to learn, this is the place to be. If you're strictly looking for signals, then we always mention, right, most likely there's other people that will provide signals, right? That's not the main purpose of this Discord. Live trading helped me understand, kind of watching over your shoulders, but they preach learning on your own. Exactly. That's the main purpose. And that's why we always kind of preach education, because ultimately at the end of the day, right, you want to be able to learn by yourself, right? You want to take trades by yourself. So once you get into the live sessions, you have those pre-market preps that you join, right? After a while, you should be able to develop your own thesis, own logic and bias. So ultimately, you're going to be able to be self-sufficient and you can trade yourself in the long term. Exactly. Just following the trades and catch everything. Exactly. I'm a lifetime member. Do you have a video on trading options that use stop loss? Yeah, we do have a video. Make sure to check out the modules. We actually just kind of talked about that on over the weekend, which was, oops, we actually talked about that over the weekend. Ooh, I just played my own stream. But yeah, we talked about that over the weekend. So make sure you check out let me actually go here. Let me show you guys where the actual live session was. So you can go here. I forget who was asking that question, but right here, I posted the weekly trading recap, which was from yesterday, right in the JDub Trades recap. And you can click on this and we kind of talked about how to manage risk using, right, you can use Delta, you can use your stop as well. There's different ways where you can look at it. Someone's asking for the link once again. Yeah, I posted it in the chat. It says accelerate the access to the previous sessions or late gold mines. Yeah, those are, we always have these. So you can look back. Let's say, for example, you want to look at something all the way from April the 17th, right? We've had live sessions spanning for over like 2+ years now. So if you're interested and you want to look at those old live sessions, or maybe you can't make it to a live session, right? These are so valuable in my opinion, but a lot of people probably don't watch them because they're a little bit boring or they take up too much time. But we literally have years worth of live sessions that you can go back on. And this right here is experience in itself. Just understanding the thought process and logic behind why we trade. And you can see if you want to search up the live sessions, you can go back. As I mentioned, just search it up in the live section, go into the top right, type in any date, and you'll be able to find it. Let's see what else. Can you pay with PayPal? You should be able to. It's based off WOP, so there's different payment plans or different options that you can pay. If PayPal, it should be there, so you guys are able to use that. These dudes are beasts, the best absolute snipers you can learn from. You have to learn from them, or you won't appreciate that, Mikey. What journaling platform? I personally use TradeZella. If you're looking to trade for longevity, you won't regret investment into the accelerator. Appreciate that, D-Walt. Any indicator? Do you teach anything different from what you teach on YouTube? So we always talk about implementation. So a lot of the things that we post on YouTube are as fairly similar information. We go a little bit more in depth into the accelerator, but ultimately what matters is, right, experience. So what we have is essentially the 3 E's, right? Execution, experience, and essentially implementation. So a lot of the times what you need is the 3 E's. And education is very important, right? And you can learn that from YouTube. You can go on to, right, anywhere online. majority of the information now that you find online is all there, right? When I actually first started trading, I just went onto YouTube, right? That's how I kind of learned. And there's like a learning curve because now all the information's out there, which is good, right? So you don't have to, right? Essentially, I'd say pay for information because information is just always out there. But the main thing is, right, when you're trading is experience, right? Experience is what's key because that's what takes the longest, in my opinion. And that's what takes a little bit longer to learn how to trade because that's what's important, right? Going through those live sessions, right? Winning, right? Losing in the markets, right? Going through those live sessions, right? Back testing, right? Understanding yourself, which is key because once you trade long enough or you first start trading, you'll see there's a lot of things that kind of go about it because you can have the information and you can understand it. But then when you actually go to implement it and execute it in real time, right, that's a little bit harder. And that's where kind of the experience come from and the execution. And that's what we try and teach and show you guys. And that's what's important because implementing and executing are two different things than just educating yourself. Because as I mentioned, there's a lot of things that go into it that happen in real time, right? The entries, right? The thought process, the logic, how you manage your emotions, right? That's what's going to be different because I can teach you the strategy. I can teach you my levels, which I did today. But ultimately, right, you're going to have to go out yourself and execute and essentially implement it into your own trading. And as I mentioned, that just takes time. So that can take for some people 6 months. I'd say usually normally, right, marking out these key levels, it's about like 6 months to a year, right? Depending on how fast you learn, depending on how much time you put into it. But that's why, right, if you put in more time, you put in more effort, and you join the live sessions and the pre-market preps, right, that's what's going to give you more experience in the markets because now you understand what we're looking for and what our thesis and logic is. So there's a lot of things that kind of go into it, right? But as I mentioned, right, execution and then as also implementation is going to be very important. Let's see what else. Pretty sure the 90 MA back-tested ticker is solid. Nice way to explain it on the live stream. Appreciate that. Also drawing levels. Jack is the best. Such a good teacher and so generous sharing what he knows. Appreciate that, Eileen. Promo code. The promo code is already in the live session. So if you click the link that I mentioned earlier in the pin on the top or in the description, the promo code is already embedded. So you just click the link and it'll take you to the checkout link. I use the Black Friday deals link to WAP in the description. Yeah, that one works as well. It's awesome. How do you set your background colors for your watch list? That one is the background colors. That one's just, it's the default colors here. So I have the black theme marked out, and that's what we already have. How many trades of your are the 5-minute opening range? So I'll usually primarily look at, so let me pull up my statistics here once again. So these are my statistics for the month of November. And majority of the trades I have are really all within, right? I only primarily take a couple setups. The previous day high and previous day low. I'll trade the 5-minute opening range. And then my other setup I'll usually take is like some sort of order block. So it's usually like a 1-minute order block. So really it's just primarily based, and we also have the 84% rule as well. So it's primarily, I'd say 5 main setups that we take on a day-to-day basis, which is just, right, the previous day high and previous day lows, which I showed you today in the levels that we'll look for. We have the 5-minute opening range, which is a setup that I talk about quite often on this channel. Most of you guys already know what it is, but it's just marking out that 5-minute opening range candle. We'll use that in confluence with the previous day highs and lows. And we also have our 1-minute order block, which is another concept that I've talked about quite often on this channel. It's something that we use quite often. And then we have, right, the reclaim setup, which is going to be that 84% rule. So all these setups are within the break and retest. The reclaim I consider is a reclaim setup, so technically not within, but it still aligns with our system and strategy as well. So all these setups are within the break and retest, previous day highs. There's a couple more setups as well, but all these ones are within the break and retest. The one candle setup is the same thing as an order block. So the one thing, these are the 3 primary ones as I mentioned, and every single trade that I've taken revolves around, right, these 3 and including the reclaim setup, which is going to be the 84% rule. So we can go over potentially, I went over a couple examples today. I guess we probably don't have too much time to go over some more examples, but we do kind of break down each week in the Discord and the weekly recap, going over some of the trades that we took, sizing, whatnot, right? Executions, kind of thought process. And of course we have it's all recorded as well. Let's see what else. What's your setup, sizes, all the break and retest? Yes. Thank you for you and Tony for this much value. Appreciate your time. Glad you guys enjoyed. Did you guys enjoy the live session today? As I mentioned, this was the first time I did it. So maybe we can hop on these sessions maybe once every few months, maybe once a quarter. Maybe I can bring Tony on for one, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, we'll probably do these maybe like once every few months, maybe once a quarter. And I think you guys would like these ones. Will it be recorded? Yes, it will be recorded as well. I'll probably, as I mentioned, I'll probably post this on my second channel. So make sure to join or make sure to sub to my second channel. I think it's linked in my YouTube. So that will be it. Yesterday you spoke with the media retest and why you would like, yeah, we'll kind of talk about that potentially later, but yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy that session. I'm most likely going to call it here. So yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. And of course, if you guys haven't joined that Black Friday sale, this is the last day to do so. It will be closed by tonight. So if you guys do want to join lifetime, that one is $1,000 off. Annual is $500 off. That one's in the description and also pinned in the top comment. And then I will see you guys all tomorrow morning. All right. Take care, everyone. Hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Peace.